Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. This time I show you how to make a cable stitch turtleneck. You know I love me some business casual attire, and a few of you have been asking for more office wear, so voila! Speaking of office wear, we've got hundreds of modern designs for the office with more on the way, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on with the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 200 grams of yarn, and that's 400 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. And enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite candle scent. For me, I've been gifted the same orange scented candle for the last few birthdays, so I guess mine's orange. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 6 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, and double treble crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're first going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're all going to grab our 5mm hook, and we're all going to start by making an even number chain that reaches from mid-collarbone to mid-collarbone, keeping in mind that this must have a minimum of 18 stitches. So I've already measured mine out. I'm going to make a total of 22 chains, and that's just about 6 inches or 15 centimeters. Now that we have our chain, we are going to be blocking off that last chain and do a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just a turning chain, and what we're going to do from here is yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet, and then we're going to half double crochet into that chain that we blocked off, or the 3rd chain from our hook. So bring your hook down into that chain. We're going to insert, yarn over, pull through that chain. We should have 3 loops on our hook, so from here we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Let's do this once more. Yarn over, insert your hook into that next chain, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Continue to put 1 half double crochet into every chain. Alright, so we are back and our row 1 is all finished up. We're actually going to be doing 1 more half double crochet row. So what we're going to do from here is a chain 2. That still doesn't count as a stitch. We're going to flip our work and then make our way all the way down, putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Alright, so our row 2 is all finished up. Right before we get started on our row 3 or our first cable stitch row, we're going to need to insert our stitch markers into the 8th stitch from the end, and this is going to be the same for every size. So just to do ours together, we're going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I will insert my first stitch marker, and then from the other end, let's count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and insert your next stitch marker. Now that's just to let us know where exactly our Alpine stitch section is going to be. So to get started on our row 3 or our first cable stitch row, we're always going to start that off with a chain 2. Still doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain, and we're going to flip our work. Now every cable stitch row is going to be worked into the previous odd number row. So our row 3 will be worked into our row 1, and we're going to start with a front post treble crochet. How we do that is start with a yarn over of 2. We're going to take a look at the first half double crochet that we have from our row number 1, not counting that chain 2. So find that next stitch. We're going to insert our hook underneath the body of that half double crochet and bring it through the other side. Once we have that, we're going to yarn over, pull through. We should have 4 loops on our hook, And to close off this stitch, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. There's our first front post treble crochet, and now we're going to get started on our actual cable stitches. So we're going to start with a set of 2 front post double treble crochets, and that's going to start with a yarn over of 3. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. We're going to skip the next 2 half double crochets from our row 1, and then put 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the next 2. So we're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then underneath that third, insert with 1 front post double treble crochet. So yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, 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 and then 1 more into that following half double crochet from row 1. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook underneath that following stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now from here, we're going to put 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the 2 stitches that we just skipped. So yarn over 3 times. Starting with that first skipped half double crochet, we're going to bring our hook underneath, through the other side. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. There's our first one. We have 1 more left to do. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook into that last stitch that we just skipped, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now that we have the twist, we're going to close off this cable stitch with a set of 2 front post treble crochets into the following 2 stitches. So yarn over twice into that following stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then once more into that following stitch. So yarn over twice, underneath that next stitch, yarn over and pull through. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now that we have those stitches done, our cable stitches are all done. And now we're always going to close off our cable stitch with a front post treble crochet, and that's going to be our dividing stitch. So yarn over twice, and then into that following stitch, insert your hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now our cable stitch section for the first half is all finished up. Now this is what our work should be looking like right now. We should have reached our first stitch marker, and in between our stitch markers is going to be our Alpine stitches. So let's get started on the first one. We're going to start our row 3 Alpine stitch with a half double crochet into the 9th stitch, and we're inserting into the 9th stitch because we have a total of 8 stitches taken up over here. So counting from our previous row, we're all going to count 8 stitches, which should be our stitch marker stitch, but we're just going to count it out just to double check. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then into that 9th stitch, we're going to insert with 1 half double crochet. So insert your hook, pull through. 3 loops on our hook, so yarn over, and pull through all 3. Now from here, we're going to do a front post double crochet into the previous odd number row, which is our row 1. So yarn over once, and then taking a look at our row 1, we are going to skip that next available half double crochet because this half double crochet counts as this stitch, and then into the following, we're going to insert our hook. So skip that one, underneath the next, we're going to yarn over, pull through. Now for our front post double crochets, now that we have 3 loops on our hook, we're going to pull up nice and tall to get the same height as our half double crochet, and then just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now we have just finished up our first set for our alpine stitches. We're going to continue to do a half double crochet and front post double crochet until we reach our stitch marker, so let's do this again. Our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet, so start with a yarn over. We're going to skip that next stitch from our previous row because this front post double crochet counts as this stitch, and then into the following, insert with a half double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, so yarn over. We're going to be skipping that next half double crochet from our row 1 because this half double crochet counts as this stitch, and then underneath the following we are going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yank up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now I have just one more set to do, so I'm going to do that with you guys. So once more, yarn over, preparing for a half double crochet. Skip that next stitch from our previous row, and then into the following, insert with 1 half double crochet, and then to close off my alpine stitch section, I have one more front post double crochet to do, so yarn over, skip that following half double crochet from our previous odd number row, because this half double crochet counts as that stitch, insert your hook underneath the following, yarn over, pull through, yank up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And from here, I am now at my stitch marker. Now, if you guys have more, continue to do 1 half double crochet and 1 front post double crochet until you guys reach your stitch marker. And to get started on our second cable stitch to close off our row 3, we're always going to start this with a front post treble crochet, which is our dividing stitch. So yarn over twice, into that following half double crochet that we have, or the 8th half double crochet from the end. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Insert your hook underneath that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now our right and our left cable stitches aren't going to match. They're going to be mirrored, so we're going to start off the second one by doing 1 front post treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So yarn over twice, into that next stitch, insert your hook with 1 front post treble, and then into the following with another front post treble, and then from here we're going to be doing a set of 2 front post double treble crochets, skipping over the next 2 stitches. So how that's going to work is yarn over 3 times. You're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then underneath that next, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then 1 more front post double treble crochet into that following stitch. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, 2, 2. Now we should have these 2 stitches left. We're going to be doing another set of 2 front post double treble crochets, but working in through that window that we just made for ourselves, so let's get that started. Start by yarning over 3 times. Hang on to your yarn because it can very easily fall off. And we're going to pull our work down, finding those 2 skip stitches in through that window. So we're going to pull down and find those 2 stitches. Here's mine. Here's 1, and here's 2. We're going to start by inserting a hook underneath that first skipped stitch, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now there's the twist for this cable. We're going to be doing 1 more into that skip stitch. So yarn over 3 times, hang on to your yarn and pull your work down. Find that skip stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And that is our second cable stitch all finished up. And now we need to close off this row with another front post treble crochet, but since we're along the end, we're going to combine it with a half double crochet. So how we're going to do that is yarn over twice, and then into the last half double crochet that we have into our row 1, insert your hook underneath that last stitch, yarn over, and pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that we have these 2 loops, we're going to yarn over and then insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, yarn over, pull through. You should have 4 loops left on our hook, and to close this off, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. And now our row 3 is all finished. And getting started on our row 4, we need to half double crochet, making our way all the way back so that we can get started on our next cable stitch row. So just do a chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. And I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, so we are back and we have just finished up our row 4, which was just a row of half double crochets. Now we can get started on our second cable stitch row, or our row number 5. So start that off with a chain 2 and flip your work. That chain 2 still doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain. And from here, we're going to do our second cable stitch row, and that is going to be worked into our previous odd number row. So that's going to be our row 3. We're always going to start our odd number rows with a front post treble crochet. So start with a yarn over of 2. We're going to find that front post treble crochet from our previous cable stitch row. Insert your hook underneath, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now that we have that finished, we can get started on the cable. Now our row 5's right cable is going to be the same as our row 3's left cable. So let's get that started. We're going to be putting 1 front post treble crochet into each of the first 2 stitches that we have from our row 3. So yarn over twice. Find that first stitch, insert your hook underneath with 1 front post treble crochet, and then 1 more front post treble crochet into the following stitch. And now that we have that, we're going to do a front post double treble crochet, skipping over the next 2 stitches. So yarn over 3 times. We're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then underneath that third, insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then 1 more front post double treble crochet into the following stitch. And now that we have that, we're going to be putting 1 front post double treble crochet into the 2 stitches that we skipped, working in through that window. So start with a yarn over of 3, hang on to your working yarn, and we're going to pull our work down, finding those 2 skipped stitches. And these are mine right here. Here's 1, and here's 2. Insert your hook underneath that first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. There's our first. We have 1 more left to do. So yarn over 3 times, hang on to your working yarn, and bring your work down. Find that last skip stitch, insert your hook underneath, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now this cable is all finished up. We just need to close this off by doing our front post treble crochet or our dividing stitch. So yarn over twice and insert your hook underneath that next stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now the first cable that we have for row 5 is all finished. Our next section is our Alpine stitch section. And when it comes to our Alpine stitches, each of our stitches are going to be staggered. So for an example, our front post double crochet is going to be worked into the previous Alpine stitch row's half double crochet, and then a half double crochet on top of that next stitch because that is our front post double crochet. So let's just do that as an example. So since the first stitch for our previous Alpine section was a half double crochet, we're going to be working a front post double crochet into there. So yarn over once, and then into that half double crochet, we're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through. Once we have those 3 loops on our hook, we're going to pull up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now that our front post double crochet is all finished up, we need a half double crochet into that next stitch. And for this first half double crochet for our row 5, we're going to be inserting our hook into the 10th stitch from our previous row, because we have a total of 9 stitches here taken up. So let's count that all together. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then into that 10th, 1 half double crochet. There's our first set for our Alpine stitch all finished up. Let's do the next. Yarn over, find the next half double crochet from our previous Alpine stitch row, insert your hook underneath, yarn over, pull through. Pull up nice and tall, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then half double crochet. So yarn over, skip the next stitch from our previous row because this front post double crochet counts as this stitch, and then into the following, insert with a half double crochet, and we're going to continue to repeat our front post double crochet and our half double crochet until we're ready to get started on our second cable. Now we should have the same amount of sets as our previous row, so since I had 3, I should have 3 right over here, so I'm going to be doing one more set with you guys. Yarn over, insert your hook into that next half double crochet from our previous cable row, pull through, pull up nice and tall, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then to close this off with a half double crochet. So yarn over, skip 1 stitch, insert your hook into that following stitch with a half double crochet, and I am now at my second cable stitch, or I should have a total of 8 stitches left. Now to get started on our second cable for our row 5, it's going to be a repeat of row 3's first cable. So let's get that started. We're always going to start off with a front post treble crochet. So yarn over twice. We're going to find that front post treble crochet from our previous cable row. Insert your hook underneath, yarn over, and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And then next we're going to be doing a set of 2 front post double treble crochets, skipping over the first 2 stitches. So yarn over twice, you're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then underneath that third with 1 front post double treble crochet. And then into the following with another. And then we're going to put 1 front post double treble crochet into the 2 stitches that we just skipped over. So start with a yarn over 3, inserting your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, 2, 2, and then once more into that stitch that we just skipped. So insert your hook and pull through. And now to close off this cable, we're going to be doing a set of 2 front post treble crochets into the third and second to last stitch that we have. So yarn over twice, into that third to last stitch, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then 1 more into that second to last stitch. So yarn over twice, insert, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now to close off every cable stitch row that we have, we're going to do a front post treble crochet combined with a half double, so the same way that we ended off the previous one. So yarn over twice and find that last stitch from our previous cable row. Insert your hook underneath there, yarn over, pull through, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now that we have 2 loops, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the last stitch from our previous row, yarn over, pull through. should have 4 loops left on our hook. So yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. And now our row 5 is complete. And from here we need to half double crochet our way back. So just do a chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. We have just finished up our half double crochet row, and now all together we should have a total of 6 rows. Now this cable stitch detail is going to be a repeat of rows 3 through 6. So I'm just going to get started on the next row off with you guys, just so you guys get the hang of it, and then I'll let you guys know just where we're going to need to measure. So right after our row 6, we're going to start up with our row 7, and that's going to be a repeat of row 3. So start with a chain 2, and flip our work. Each of our cable stitch sections is going to be worked into the previous cable stitch row. So yarn over twice and find the front post treble crochet from our row 5. Insert your hook underneath there, pull through 2, 2, and 2. And our row 3 is going to start with a set of 2 front post double treble crochets into the 3rd and 4th stitch. So yarn over 3 times, you're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then underneath that following stitch, insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then underneath the following with another front post double treble crochet. After that, we're going to be doing another set of 2 front post double treble crochets into the 2 stitches that we just skipped. So yarn over 3 times, insert your hook into that first stitch that we skipped over, and then 1 more front post double treble crochet into that following stitch. Now 1 front post treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches to close off our row 3's first cable. There's my first, yarn over twice, and insert with my second. And now that we have that, our cable stitch section is all finished up. We just need to close it off with a front post treble crochet. So yarn over twice, insert your hook with our dividing stitch, which is a front post treble crochet. And just to get started, our Alpine stitches with you guys, we're going to start with a half double crochet because the first stitch from our previous Alpine stitch section started with a front post double. So since we did a total of 8 stitches here, I'm going to count out 8 stitches from our previous row and then half double crochet into the 9th. So let's count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then into that 9th, I'm going to insert with 1 half double crochet. And then just to do our front post double, yarn over, find the half double crochet from our previous Alpine stitch section, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, pull up nice and tall, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And keep repeating our half double crochet and front post double crochet all the way down until we reach our next cable stitch section, and then close this off with the same cable that we did for row 3. Now if you guys need timestamps for any of these sections, they will all be linked in the description, but we're going to continue on with these rows until this reaches our underarm. So we're going to place this first row that we have right where we want the bottom of this top to be and work it all the way up until we reach the corner of our underarm, making sure that we end on a half double crochet row about to start a repeat of row 5. I'll meet you guys back once we have that all finished up. Alright, so I'm back with the height that I need for my cable stitch section. I have a total of 36 rows, and this length is just about 12.5 inches or 32 centimeters. We should have all ended right after a half double crochet row, right when we're about to start our repeat of row 5. And from here, all we're going to do is do a decrease of 2 into the first 2 and into the last 2 stitches until this reaches the base of our neck. So this is going to start off the same way for everyone. So right after our half double crochet row, we're going to chain 2 and flip your work. So right after we do our chain 2 and flip our work, into that chain 2, we're going to insert our stitch marker into any one of the chains. It doesn't matter which one. We just need that stitch marker into there so we know right where our decrease rows are about to start. And all we're going to do is start with a decrease of 2 front post treble crochets. So it's going to start with a yarn over of 2. And we're going to find that first front post treble from our previous cable row, insert our hook underneath there, And then we're going to find the next stitch from our previous cable row and insert your hook underneath there as well. And all we're going to do is yarn over, pull through both of those stitches, and then finish off our front post treble crochet per usual. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And that is how we do our decrease. Now right after our decrease, we should have 1 stitch left right before we get started with our sets of 2. So into that next stitch that we have, we're just going to do 1 front post treble crochet into there. And then from there, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and then do a set of 2 front post double treble crochets into the next 2. So yarn over 3 times. We're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then into the following with 1 front post double treble crochet. And then 1 more into the following. Since this is starting with a repeat of row 5, that's going to be worked with 2 front post double treble crochets worked into the window. So just like how we've been doing those rows, yarn over 3 times, pull our work down, and then put 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those stitches that we skipped. There's my first. There's my second. And then our dividing stitch, which is always going to be 1 front post treble crochet. And now the first cable for our first decrease row is all finished up, and our Alpine is going to be exactly the same. So it's going to start with 1 front post double crochet, since the first stitch from our previous Alpine stitch row was a half double crochet, so yarn over once, find that half double crochet, insert, yarn over, pull through. Pull up nice and tall, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and from here we're going to half double crochet into the 10th stitch, and we're doing 10 because we have a total of 9 stitches right here, and that is including each of these stitches that we took up for the decrease. So just to count it out, this is our decrease. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 is our front post double crochet. So go ahead and count out 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 into the 10th with 1 half double crochet, and then continue on with your Alpine stitches, making our way all the way down until we reach our next dividing stitch. So our Alpine stitch section is all finished up, and now we're going to do our dividing stitch, which, like I said, is always going to be a front post treble crochet. And then we're going to start off our next cable the same way that we would start off any second cable for our repeat of row 5. So start with a yarn over 3, skip 1, skip 2, into that third and into the fourth. We're going to insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches that we just skipped over. So insert, pull through, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then once more. And once we have our crossover, we should have a total of 1, 2, 3 stitches left. Now every side is going to be a mirror of the other side, so into that next available stitch that we have, we're going to do just 1 front post treble crochet, and then into the last 2 stitches that we have, we're going to do our decrease of 2 front post treble crochets, but since we're along the end, it's going to be combined with a half double crochet. So what we're going to do is yarn over twice. We're going to insert our hook into that second to last stitch from our previous cable row, and then also into that following stitch, which is the last stitch from our previous cable row. We're going to yarn over, pull through both of those stitches, and from here we're going to continue on with our stitches per usual, so yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and now that we have 2, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, pull through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. So our first decrease row is all finished up. From here we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Now that we've made our way all the way down with our half double crochet row, we're just going to continue to do our cable stitch rows with our proper decreases. So let's just do the next row as well. Start with a chain 2, flip your work. We're always going to start with a decrease of 2 front post treble crochets. So it's going to be yarn over 2 times, And then underneath the first stitch from our previous cable row, and underneath the following stitch as well, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now from here for our second decrease cable row, we're going to yarn over 3 times, skip the first 2 stitches, and then put 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the following stitches because we want to maintain this twist. So insert, pull through 2, 2, 2, 2, once more into that following stitch, and from here we're going to be putting 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches that we skipped, working underneath that window that we just made. So pretty close to a repeat of row 5. So start with a yarn over 3, find those 2 skip stitches in through that window, and then put 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. And now that we have that twist, we're going to close this off with our dividing stitch, which is 1 front post treble crochet, and then do your alpine stitches, making your way all the way down until we reach our next dividing stitch. So now that we've made our way all the way down with our alpine stitches, we're going to close this off with our next cable, closing it with a decrease. So we're always going to start this off with our dividing stitch, which is 1 front post treble crochet, and then from here we're going to put 1 front post double treble crochet into the 3rd and 4th stitch. So yarn over 3 times, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then 1 more into the following. Now from here we're just going to be working into the 2 stitches that we skipped over. So start with a yarn over of 3, preparing for a front post double treble crochet, and we aren't going to be working into the window, so we're just going to bring our hook down, find that first stitch, and insert with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then into that next stitch 1 more front post double treble crochet, and then once we have this twist all finished up, we should have 2 stitches left. We're going to do a decrease into there, and since this is the last stitch, it's going to be combined with a half double crochet. So yarn over twice, we're going to insert a hook underneath the first, and underneath that second stitch, yarn over, pull through. From here we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. And now that we have 2, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that last stitch from our previous row, yarn over, and pull through all 4. And now our second decrease row for our cable is all finished up. And we need to work our way back, so chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way back down. Okay, so we've just made our way all the way down with our half double crochet row. Now I'm just going to do 1 more decrease row with you guys, and I'll let you guys move on your own. So all we're going to do is do a chain 2 and flip your work. We're always going to start and end off our cable stitch rows with a decrease of 2 front post treble crochets. So yarn over twice. We're going to find that first stitch from our previous cable row and insert your hook underneath there, and then into that following stitch as well. So insert your hook. Once we have that, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now for the first cable that we have for every cable stitch section, it's going to be similar to a repeat of row 5. So how that's going to work is that we're going to keep our cable stitches in their sets. So since we just have 1 available stitch here, because this first one was taken up for the decrease, we're going to skip that 1 and then work into the following 2 with a set of 2 front post double treble crochets. So yarn over 3 times, we're going to skip that stitch, insert your hook into that following stitch with 1 front post double treble crochet, and then into the following with 1 more. And like I said, our first cable is going to be similar to our row 5, so we're always going to be working in through that window. So yarn over 3 times, bring our work down, and then insert your hook into that 1 skip stitch. And that is how we get our twist for our first cable. And then we are always going to close it off with our dividing stitch, which is the front post treble. And then we're going to do our alpine stitches, which shouldn't be bothered. So just as a refresher, since my first stitch from our previous alpine stitch row was a half double, we're going to start this row, with a front post double into that half double crochet, just like that. And then we need to half double crochet into that next stitch from our previous row. And how we figure out where we're going to half double crochet is that we're going to count up the stitches that we took up. So including that decrease of 2, that's going to be 1, 2 stitches, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Since we took up 7 stitches, I'm going to half double crochet into the 8th from my previous row. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and half double crochet into my 8th. And continue on with our alpine stitches until we reach our next dividing stitch. And now that we're at our next dividing stitch, we're going to do that stitch, which is 1 front post treble crochet. And then our second cable is going to be a similar repeat to our second row 5 cable. So let's get that started. Now since we're along the end, we always want to leave those last 2 stitches available for our decrease. So we're going to leave those 2 out, and then we need to do our twist. So since we just have one of these stitches left for our set, we're just going to insert our hook into there with 1 front post double treble crochet. And then we're going to work into those 2 stitches that we skipped with 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. We're just going to bring our hook in front and put 1 front post double treble, and then once more into the following. And that is the twist for our second cable. And now we should have 2 stitches left, so let's just do our decrease once more. Start with a yarn over of 2. We're going to insert our hook into that second to last stitch and into that last stitch, yarn over, pull through both of those stitches, then yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. Once we have those 2, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, yarn over, pull through all 4. And from here, we're just going to chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way back down so we can get started on the next cable stitch row. And from here, we're just going to keep repeating our cable stitch rows with a decrease into the beginning and into the last of the row, and then our half double crochet row, until we get the height that we need. So making sure that this first decrease row is right where our underarm is, we're going to continue on with these rows until this reaches the base of our neck, making sure that we end on a cable stitch row. I'll meet you guys back once we have that all finished up. Alright, so I am all finished up with the decrease portion of my cable stitch. I did do a chain up, 1 and cut right after my 45th row, and this height was just about 3 inches or 8 centimeters, or I now have a total height of 15 inches or 38 centimeters. From here, we're going to start working on our side panels, and we all need to get started on the same side panel because the ribbing that we're going to do isn't reversible. So start by making sure that our cable is flipped up towards us, and the decrease section that we have is away from us. We're going to start by inserting our hook within the right side into that side row that we have that's right underneath that stitch marker stitch that we inserted. So flip your work if we need to. We're going to be inserting our hook into a side half double crochet. Looking at the back, the side half double crochet rows are the solid rows right here. So making sure that we're not working into that decreased side row, we're going to insert our hook underneath that next row. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, to a chain up of 1 to secure. And from here, we're going to be alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, making our way all the way down. So starting with that same side row that we insert our hook into, so that side half double crochet, we're going to insert our hook into there with just 1 single crochet into that side row. Now the next side row that we should have should be a little bit easier to see because that's our cable stitch row, and we're going to insert our hook into there with 2 single crochets. So insert with 1, and then insert with another single crochet into that stitch. Let's just do one more set. The next side row that I have should be a half double crochet, so I'm going to insert my hook into there with just 1, and then into my next side row, which is this side cable stitch row, insert my hook into there with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, and there's 2. And we're going to keep doing this, making our way all the way down. So now that we've just finished up our first single crochet row, we're actually going to be doing another one, but with a decrease within the last 2 stitches. So right after our last single crochet, chain 1, flip our work, And then make our way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2. We've made our way down with 1 single crochet into every stitch, and we have left the last 2. Now we're going to do a decrease. So start by inserting your hook into that second to last stitch, yarn over, pull through. Also into that last stitch, yarn over, pull through. We should all have 3 loops on our hook now, so just yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And all we're going to do from here is chain 1, flip our work into a back loop slip stitch row with no increases and no decreases. So to get that started, insert your hook into that first stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through everything. Also into that next stitch's back loop, yarn over, and pull through everything. I'll meet you back at the end of this row. We've made our way all the way down with our back loop slip stitch row, and now we're going to do another single crochet row ending with a decrease, but now it's going to be within the back loops. So start with a chain 1 and flip your work. Insert your hook into that first stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and continue to put 1 back loop single crochet, leaving the last 2. Alright, so we've made our way all the way down with our back loop single crochet row, and now we're going to do a decrease once more. So start by inserting your hook into that second to last back loop, yarn over, pull through, and through that next back loop, yarn over, and pull through. Should have 3 loops, so just yarn over, pull through all 3, and that is the end of this row. So just chain 1, flip our work, then do our back loop slip stitch row with absolutely no increases and no decreases. We're going to keep repeating these 2 rows until this portion can stretch to mid underarm, and we do want to make sure that we're stretching it as if we're wearing it. Go ahead and get all of that done, and I'll meet you guys back right after a single crochet row and after you do a chain up of 1 and cut. Alright, so I am all finished up with my side panel. I have a total of 10 rows, and just my side panel is about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, or my total width now is about 8 inches or 20 centimeters. Now what we're going to do from here is pretty similarly to how we did this first side panel, but we're going to be inserting a hook into a different spot because it isn't reversible. So what we're going to do is still make sure that our cable stitches is faced right side up towards us, and the decrease half is away from us. And then taking a look at the bottom, we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch. From there, we will be inserting our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. And for this first single crochet row, just like how we did the other side, we're going to start by alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. So just to do the first step, we're going to find our first side row right here, insert your hook into there with 1 single crochet, and then into your next side row right over here, insert your hook into there with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, and then there's 2. We're going to keep alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets, making our way all the way up until we reach our stitch marker, making sure that we stop at the row right before we reach our stitch marker stitch, because that is our first decrease row and you don't want to work into that just yet. So I'll meet you guys back right over here. And now that we've made our way all the way up with our single crochet row, we're going to get started on our next row, which is going to be another single crochet row, but since we're along the top, we're going to start with a decrease. So start with a chain 1 and flip your work. Just as a reminder, to do our decrease, we're going to start by inserting our hook into that first stitch, yarn over, and pull through. Insert your hook into that following stitch, yarn over, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook, so yarn over, and pull through all 3 of those loops. And then from here, put 1 single crochet into every stitch. Alright, so we've just made our way all the way down with our second single crochet row, the row that started with a decrease, and now our next row is going to be a back loop slip stitch row with no increases and no decreases. So chain 1, flip your work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And now that our back loop slip stitch row is all finished up, we're just going to get started on the next row with each other, which is going to be a single crochet row. But now they're all going to be within the back loops, and we are going to start with a decrease. So start by inserting your hook into that first stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through, then also into that next stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through. Should have 3 loops on our hook, so yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops, and put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 1, flip your work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and keep repeating these 2 rows until we have the same amount of rows as our other side panel. do a chain up of 1 and cut when we have that all finished up, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, I am back and I've just finished up both of my side panels. I did do a chain up of 1 and cut on the second side that we did together, and now we're ready to get started on the back. So right before we get started on the back, we're going to need to do just a little bit of math to figure out how many chains we're going to need to make to get the same height as our cable stitch section. So the first thing that we're going to do is take the total amount of cable stitch rows, which I have 45. We're going to subtract 1 to make that an even number, so 44 for me, and then we're going to cut that even number in half. So 44 cut in half is 22. Now we're going to add that number that we just figured out to the original amount of rows that we have for our cable stitch section. So like I said, I had a total of 45 cable stitch rows, and I'm going to add that to 22, the number that we just figured out. So in total, that is 67, so I'm going to be making a chain of 67. Now that I have my chain, I will be blocking off my last chain. I'm going to do a chain 1. Now that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain, and our first row is going to be a slip stitch row. So start by inserting your hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook with a slip stitch, yarn over and pull through everything, and same rules apply, making sure that we aren't tugging on our working yarn after we finish the slip stitch. Insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over, pull through everything, and then into the following as well. Insert, yarn over, and pull through everything. Continue to put 1 slip stitch into every chain. Alright, so now that we've made our way all the way down with our first slip stitch row, our next row is going to be a back loop single crochet row. And with no increases and no decreases, all we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work, and then make our way all the way down, putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. And now that our back loop single crochet row is all finished up, we're just going to keep alternating between a back loop single crochet row and now a back loop slip stitch row. So insert, yarn over, pull through everything, remembering not to tug too tightly on our working yarn. And we're just going to keep repeating those 2 rows for the same amount of chains that we made when we started off this entire piece for our cable stitch section. So just as a reminder, I made a total of 22 chains. Now, since we all should have started with an even number of chains, we're going to subtract 1 so that it's odd so that we can end on a slip stitch row. So I will meet you guys back when I have 21 rows all finished up. And one last tip right before I leave you guys is that this portion may slant just a little bit, but that's completely fine because it'll even out once when it's all seamed up. Alright, so I am back with the middle portion of my back panel. Like I said in the previous clip, I made a total of 21 rows and now I'm ready to get started on the underarm portion. Now that's going to be done pretty similarly to how we did the front panels. I'm just going to talk you guys through it. The first thing that we're going to want to do is insert our stitch marker into the same amount of stitches as single crochets that we made when we started off our side panel within the front. So just to show you guys what I'm talking about, this first single crochet that we made working along the side of our cable stitch section, we're going to insert our stitch marker into that same amount of stitches. So if you guys have my numbers, I had a total of 54 single crochets right here. So within the back panel along the bottom, so from where my working yarn is, I counted all the way up and inserted my stitch marker into the 54th stitch. And from here, I'm going to work my way up with a back loop single crochet row until I am 1 stitch right before my stitch marker. Since we've just made our way all the way up to the top with our back loop single crochet row, and that we've stopped 1 stitch right before our stitch marker, we're now going to do a decrease into the 2 following stitches. So into that second to last stitch, insert your hook into that back loop, pull through, and then also insert your hook into that stitch marker stitch's back loop, and pull through. And from here, we're just going to yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that is our decrease. And then now we're just going to do a back loop slip stitch row with no increases and no decreases. And from here, we're just going to be repeating our back loop single crochet row with a decrease of 2 along the end, and our back loop slip stitch row until we have the same amount of rows as our front panel's side. But keeping in mind that we did start on the second row, so as an example, since I had a total of 10 rows, I'll meet you guys back once when I have finished up a total of 9 rows from my back panel, and then I'll show you guys how to get started on the other side. Alright, so my first underarm portion for my back panel is all finished up, and now we're going to do the next one. So it's going to start off kind of the same. We're going to start by inserting our stitch marker into the same amount of single crochets that we did on the other side, and I have inserted my stitch marker into the 54th stitch from the blunt end. And now from here, we're going to be inserting our hook into that stitch marker stitch so that the ribbing can all be along the same side. In through that back loop, insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 just to secure. That's not going to count as a stitch. And now from here, we're going to start with a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets and then put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way down. So just to do the first one with you guys, we're going to start by inserting our hook into that same back loop that our stitch marker is in. So insert, yarn over, pull through, and then into that following back loop as well, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then continue to put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, do a chain 1, flip your work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch with no increases and no decreases. And from there, we're just going to keep repeating those 2 rows until we have the same amount of underarm rows as this first underarm portion. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so now that our back panel is entirely finished, we're now ready to seam the front and back panel together. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure that the ribbing that we have is faced outwards for both front and back panel. So for the front panel, we can see the cable, and then for the back panel, if we flip it, we can see the ribbing. And what we're going to do from here is insert our hook into the corner stitch of the front panel, and also into the corner stitch of the back panel. And now we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam. So start by inserting your yarn onto your hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And now from here, we're going to find that first available stitch into the front panel and find that front loop and insert your hook only in through that loop. Next, we're going to find our back panel's next available stitch and insert your hook only in through that back loop. And once we have all 3 of those loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. There is our first seam. Let's do the next one. Find that next available stitch into the front panel and insert your hook in through that front loop. And then find that next available stitch into the back panel and then insert in through that back loop. When we have 3 loops on our hook, go ahead and yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then go ahead and do the same thing that we just did here on the other side. Alright, so now that our front and back panel are all seamed together, we're now ready to get started on our turtleneck. So what we're first going to want to do is insert our hook into the corner stitch of our back panel, insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through. And from here, we're going to make a chain that reaches up and over our shoulder that can reach the front panel's corner stitch right over here. So I have already measured mine out. I'm going to make a total chain of 15. That's about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And now that we have our chain, we're going to single crochet it into the corner stitch of the front panel. So go ahead and flip your work over. And then we're going to find the corner stitch within the front panel. Insert your hook into there with a single crochet. And then working across your front panel, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now that we're at the corner, we're going to make the same chain that we made along this side, then single crochet it into the back panel. So I made a chain of 15 on the other side, so I'm going to start by making another chain of 15. When we have our chain, flip our work and single crochet it into the corner stitch of the back panel. Now within the back panel, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row that we have. So let's just do the first few. This is my first side row that I have right here, which is a side single crochet row, which is this divot. Insert your hook into that top loop with just 1 single crochet. Find your next side row, which should be a side slip stitch row. Insert your hook into there with 1 single crochet, and that's it. Let's do one more set. Find your next side row, which this is mine right here. It's a side single crochet row. So find that top loop, insert with just 1 single crochet, and then find your next side row, which should be a side slip stitch row. Find that top loop, and then single crochet into there. Continue to put 1 single crochet into every side row that we have until we reach the corner. Slip stitch into that chain space, and then I'll meet you back. And now that we have slip stitched into that chain space, we're going to do 1 more single crochet row just to make it a little bit more sturdy. So right after that slip stitch, do a chain 1 and just make your way all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into every chain and into every stitch. So just do the first one. We're going to be working into our chain, so find that top loop, insert your hook into there with a single crochet, and I'll meet you back once we make our way all the way around and slip stitch into that chain space. So now that we have our single crochet row all finished up for the collar, we're now going to make a chain the length that we want our turtleneck to be, keeping in mind that it will fold over in half as well. So I'm going to start by making a chain of 25, and that's just about 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters. And now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch, remembering not to tug too tightly right after we finish a stitch. So pull through and move on to the next. So into that next chain, yarn over, pull through everything. Put 1 slip stitch into every chain. And now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, we now need to connect it into the base with a slip stitch. So what we're going to do is find that next available stitch into the base, insert your hook into there, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through everything to secure down that row 1. Now to get started on our row 2, we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch into the base. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through everything, flip our work, and then from here put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row's back loop, yarn over, pull through everything. Let's do that again. That next stitch is back loop, insert, pull through everything. I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Now that we're at the end of our row 2, we're going to work our way up to the next row by doing a chain 1, flip your work, and then make your way down, putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. I'll meet you guys back at the base just to show you how we're going to connect it once more. And now that we're back at the base, we're going to connect it once more. So find that next available stitch, insert your hook with a slip stitch. And that closes off our row 3, and just to work our way up to our next row, find that next stitch into the base, slip stitch into there, flip your work, and then make your way down, putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Repeat these 2 rows until we don't have any more stitches left into the base, and then I'll meet you back so we can seam our turtleneck. Alright, so I've just made my way all the way around with my back loop slip stitch rows. I don't have any more stitches left to work into the base, so now we're going to seam it. And this is going to be the same seam that we did for the sides, so just make sure that our work is flipped right side out. And now we're going to do our outside loop slip stitch seam. So start by inserting your hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through everything on our hook. And since we already know how to do the seam, I'm just going to get the first one started off with you guys. So finding that first stitch from our front panel, go ahead and insert your hook only in through that front loop. And then we're going to find that next available stitch into the back panel and insert your hook only in through that back loop. And once we have those 3 loops on our hook, just yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's it. We're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left, and then do a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that our turtleneck is all seamed, we're now ready to get started on our armhole detail. So first make sure that our work is flipped right side out, and we're all going to insert our hook into the last stitch that we have from our side seam. And from here we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and then all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into every side row. And then once we reach our side cables, we're going to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. So let's get that started. Now working up our underarm, we're going to find that first available side row that we have. It should be a side single crochet row, so I'm going to find that top loop, insert my hook into there with just 1 single crochet. Find your next side row, which should be the side slip stitch, insert your hook into there with 1 single crochet, and then repeat. So let's just do 1 more set. This is my next side row, which is a side single crochet row. So find that top loop, insert your hook into there with 1 single crochet, and then find your next side slip stitch row, find that top loop, and single crochet into there. And keep repeating this until we reach the side of our cable stitch section. Now that we made our way all the way up to the side of our cable stitch rows, we're going to put 1 single crochet into the first side row, which this is mine right here. Insert your hook into there with 1 single crochet. Now find your next side row, which is going to be this row. It's our half double crochet row underneath, and insert into there with 1, and then into that same side row with 2. Let's do that again. Into that next side row, I'm going to insert with 1, and then into that next side row, insert with 2. So there's 1, and then there's 2. And we're just going to keep alternating like that, making our way all the way up. Once we reach the bottom of our turtleneck, just put 1 single crochet into every stitch. And then when we reach the back, put 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then 1 single crochet into every side row, making our way all the way down. Slip stitch into that chain space, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we have just made our way all the way around with our single crochet row. And now all we're going to do is do our back loop slip stitch rows, making our way all the way around our armhole. So from where we're at, right after we did a slip stitch, we're going to start by making a chain the length that we want our armhole detail to be. Now I want mine to be just about 1 inch or 3 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 5. Now that we have our chain, we are going to block off that last chain, do a chain 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off with a second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch. And put 1 slip stitch into every chain. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, this is going to be done exactly the same way as our turtleneck. So just as a reminder, we're going to find that next available stitch into the base and slip stitch into there to close off this first row. And right after that, to work our way up to the next row, slip stitch into that next stitch into the base, flip our work, and then make your way down, putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And at the end of the row, do a chain 1, flip your work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And just keep repeating those 2 rows, making our way all the way around until we don't have any more stitches left. And I'll meet you back so we can seam it together. Alright, so we have just made our way all the way up and around with our back loop slip stitch rows. We don't have any more stitches left to work into the base, so now all we're going to do is do an outside loop slip stitch seam to close it up. So since we already know how to do this, we're just going to do the first one together. And the first thing we're going to want to make sure is that our work is flipped right side out. Next, we're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through everything to secure. And just to do the first one, we're going to find that first available stitch into the front panel and insert only in through that front loop. And then find that next available stitch into the back panel and insert only in through that back loop. And now that we have those 3 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops, and that is it. Continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left. Do a chain up a 1 and cut, and then repeat everything that we just did here on the other side. Alright, so our armhole detail for both sides are all finished up, and the last thing that we're going to have to do is weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Check us out on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye!